Thank you for joining me on yet another mind-opening video regarding the occult, ancient, lost and hidden history, as well as esoteric knowledge. This is part 3 of the previous video, called, The Children of Enlil and Enki, and Their Elite Bloodline, on the Earth. If you haven't seen part 1 and 2 of this video, then I would strongly suggest you watch those first, as this one is only a continuation of part 2, and will go much more deeper on the goddess worship and the Luciferian doctrine of the illuminated ones. So let's begin. In the previous video, I have declared to dedicate this video to the merfolk, the connection between the mermaids and ancient civilizations, their possible origins, the folklore and encounters written about them, Hollywood's obsession with them, and their abilities they have and use to get what they want. So let's first take a look at the folklore and encounters with the Finfolk.
According to the folklore and sightings of the Finfolk in the Northern Isles of Scotland, and specifically the Orkney Islands, the Finfolk are sorcerers, shapeshifters of the sea, the dark mysterious race from Finfolkahim, who regularly make an amphibious journey from the depths of the Finfolk Ocean, which is next to the Orkney Islands. They wade, swim or sometimes row upon the Orkney shores in the spring and summer months, searching for human captives. The Finfolk, both Finman and Finwife, kidnap unsuspecting fishermen or frolicking youth near the shore and force them into lifelong servitude as a spouse. The Finman is described as being tall and thin, with a stern, gloomy face. He is said to have many magical powers, such as rowing between Norway and Orkney in 7 oar strokes, making his ship invisible, and creating fleets of phantom boats. He avoids human contact, but is extremely territorial, and will wreak havoc on the boats of any fisherman trespassing in his waters. In some accounts of encounters with the Finman, they have been deterred by drawing a cross on the bottom of a craft with chalk or tar, for according to legend, the Finfolk abhor the sign of the Christian cross above any other device. I wonder why. The Finman was said to be very crafty, and ever prepared to cheat men out of their silver, or wives.
This got me thinking. As you will know by now, I study a lot of ancient mythology and folklore from around the world, so it should come as no surprise that when I find similarities between different deities, creatures of myths and folklore, and encounters, I will be putting them together for viewers to see, and one such similarity between the Finman and their love for silver, as well as their association with boats, sounds an awful lot like the Greek ferryman, whom also loves silver, so much so that the Greeks performed a little death ritual, whereby they left 2 silver coins upon the eyelids of the deceased, a little gift for the ferryman, I believe. Now you may say, or even think, that the Finmen were not described in the Orkney accounts as mermen or merfolk, and yet, the Finwife is indeed described as such.
According to Orkney folklore, the Finwife starts her life as a beautiful mermaid, bent on acquiring a human husband. Should she succeed, she takes him to live with her in Finfolkahim, or, on occasion, and in some stories, goes to live with him instead, as in the story of Johnny Croy and his mermaid bride. If she does not find a human husband, the Finwife must take a Finman husband, and is often made to go ashore, and work as a healer, or spinner by her husband, where she is forced to send all her silver home to, or risk a terrible beating. She often owns a black cat that can transform itself into a fish, to deliver messages to her kin in Finfolkahim. I cannot help but wonder if this is perhaps where the witch and her black cat imaging comes from.
Apart from taking the form of a mermaid or merman, the Finfolk family, which includes selkies that shed their seal skins, and mermaids, which loose their fins, can transform into ordinary beautiful humans. Many people claim they have encountered the most beautiful-looking naked woman bathing in the waters where the Finfolk were said to take up residence. The mermaids are actually named in the Book of Enoch, and they are referred to, just as the Greeks called them, sirens. As you can see, from the Netflix series Wednesday, the sirens have certain hypnotic abilities. Not only can they hypnotize their victims with their hypnotic gaze and soothing voice, but they also have the ability to bend any unfortunate person to their will, and have a powerful control over their victim's mind and sometimes bodies, much like demonic influence and even possession. I have added another animated mermaid film into this video to show how much of the old folklore tales and truths are used today in the entertainment industry to shape the young children's minds of the millennial generation. As cute as this film comes across, it holds a dark and sinister mystery. That mystery is how Ponyo the fish girl was able to transform into a human. You see, to the ordinary viewer, this subtle mystery can easily go unnoticed, but to the researcher, such as myself and I'm sure many others have noticed it, there is a occult nature to this film. Ponyo only turns into a human after she tasted human blood. This is rather dark and sinister when one looks into the folklore of sirens and how many were described as man-eating monsters of the waters. Many have cannibal tendencies when they kidnap their victims. If they weren't drowning them, to feed on them, they kidnap them, to marry and bear children with the unfortunate humans that has either been deceived, seduced or even taken against their will, stolen away from their own families and loved ones, never to be seen again, and often remains a cold case never to be solved. For those that have seen the film Ponyo, would have noticed the character that plays Ponyo's father is not only some kind of druidic character that claims to have once been human and have reached a level of immortality, much like Odin, but he also calls Ponyo his daughter, Brynhilda. This is a name found within Norse mythology and given to a Valkyrie that became a lover of a Swedish and Danish king. The Valkyrie were battle maidens. They flew around over the battlefield and gathered up the dead soldiers for Odin. They were also the daughters of Odin, the Norse god of war and poetry. Valkyries also appear as lovers of heroes and other mortals, where they are sometimes described as the daughters of royalty, sometimes accompanied by ravens and sometimes connected to swans or horses. There are ample swan maiden tales in the Celtic and Irish fairy folklore. This is where the Swan Princess film comes from. A prose introduction in the poem Valandurkvitha relates that the brothers Slagfithur, Eagle and Valand dwelt in a house sited in a location called Ulfdler, Wolf Dales. There, early one morning, the brothers find three women spinning linen on the shore of the lake Ulfstrar, Wolf Lake, and near them were their swans' garments. They were Valkyries. Just as the Finn folk tales, the Finn folk can take off their fins or sealskin garments and masquerade as beautiful women, just bathing in the waters or even in the sunlight on rocks, cliffs and beaches. The Finn wife is considered a spinner and a witch just like the Valkyries. And if that isn't a big enough clue as to who these shapeshifters are, then the connection to Odin should be enough evidence as to who and what they are. In my previous video, and the one titled Project Odin and His All-Seeing Eye, I make many comparisons between Odin and Satan. In that video I tried to show who the Tuatha de Danaan claim they are. The Tuatha de Danaan claim to be the offspring of the proud angel. This proud angel is considered Lucifer, which is just a title for light bearer, and does have a name, which is mentioned in the Apocalypses of Abraham. His name is Azazel, and yes, Azazel is mentioned in the Book of Enoch, and considered to be one of the leaders of the 200 Watchers that chose mortal women as their wives and had sexual intercourse with them, in order to bear their own semi-divine, royal stock. Through these mortal women, their offspring then became the ruling elite royal bloodlines on the earth.
And that girl, Bianca Barclay, is the closest thing Nevermore has to royalty.
Thank you for watching the video thus far. Unfortunately, I will have to continue the next part in a new video, as I'm afraid the research is far too extensive to fit into one video alone. We have had a lot of history hidden from us, as much of it is not taught in school. If it were, it would be taught under subject mythology, but nonetheless, myths and legends are not only part of the ancients' culture, but also our ancient history. In the next video, I will delve deeper into the Sirens' past, their possible origin, their lineage on the earth, and how they are connected to the elites, royals and nobility bloodlines. I will also show my viewers how the sirens are still hiding in plain sight, and still continue to abduct people to this day. This might even be connected to David Pollied 411 missing cases, as well as fairy and alien abduction stories from both the Celtic fairy era and the modern UFO era. Also to cover in the next video, will be the rise of the Amazon woman, and the hatred for the male sex and goddess worship. Not sure when I can have the video up, due to work, family life and prepping for the coming World War, so please check in on my channel now, and then if you wish to watch the last part of the children of Enlil, Enki and their elite royal bloodline on the earth, part 4. I appreciate your time and energy spent to watch these videos. If you found it helpful, then please share with others. God bless, all the best, have a wonderful day and don't forget to rest. Yours truly. Shed some light.